Welcome to the MiningNewsWire podcast, powered by IBN. This original audio production delivers market and sector insights, as well as exclusive interviews with innovative executives shaping the future in fast-moving industries, and may feature a client partner of IBN or one of the 60-plus investor-focused brands within IBN's dynamic brand portfolio. As a multifaceted financial news and publishing company, IBN leverages its extensive distribution network, utilizing multiple proprietary corporate communication tools to introduce both public and private companies to a vast and diverse audience of investors, consumers, influencers, journalists, and other targeted segments of the public. IBN may have received compensation to produce this audio content. Please be sure to read IBN's entire disclaimers for full disclosures. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the next revelatory episode of IBN's MiningNewsWire podcast.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks so much for making us part of your day as well as part of your due diligence. You have reached out to us here at the MiningNewsWire podcast, brought to you by the Investor Brand Network, and we're joined today by McEwen Mining Incorporated. The company's traded on the NYSE exchange under the ticker symbol MUX. That's also the ticker for the company on the Toronto Stock Exchange. You can learn more about the company, of course, at Investor Brand Network. Click on the Clients tab, and there in alphabetical order, you'll find McEwen Mining, and as well at the company's website, McEwenMining.com. That's MCEWEN mining.com. We're lucky enough to be joined by the CEO of the company, and that's Rob McEwen. Rob, welcome to the show, and thanks very much for making time for us.
Happy to be on, Stuart. Thank you.
Well, we want to start off by learning more about you as our guest today. If you could, let's talk a little bit about your journey in the mining sector and what led you to become the CEO of McEwen Mining.
Well, I'll have to take you back a long way, Stuart. When I was 10 and 11, my father had me charting stocks. He was in the investment industry. At 12, I made my first investment. Around the dining room table, there was discussions of investments. And one particular area was gold and gold shares. He put all his clients into those vehicles when gold was at $35 an ounce. And around the dining room table, there was always discussion of gold's role in a portfolio, and also that governments tend to steal money from their citizens through inflation, and gold was one way of protecting against that.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed him into the investment industry after college, did research, sales, and looked at that, went back, did an MBA, came out, worked for Merrill Lynch in Toronto and New York, again focused on gold and gold shares, ran a closed-end investment company, used it to jump into a hostile takeover battle, and ended up with control of 2 gold mining companies and a couple of other companies, which over a period of 8 years, I consolidated into a company called Goldcorp, which we went from a market cap of 50 million to 8 billion. And then I decided to step out of the company I built. We had 400 million in cash, no debt, and we are one of the lowest cost gold producers in the world, listed New York and Toronto. I bought into junior mining companies and merged 2 of them together in January of 2012. One company had a large copper project in Argentina, and it had an operating mine down there as well, and it had exploration properties in Nevada and northwestern Mexico. So now you're up to speed.
Well, very good. Yeah, we are. And thank you for that detailed background on yourself. Now let's jump into the company itself. And McEwen Mining has several projects across the Americas. Can you elaborate for us on the strategic importance of each of those locations?
Sure. We have an underground gold mine in northern Ontario, Canada. We call that Fox Complex. We have a open pit gold mine in Nevada called Gold Bar. We have a mine on care and maintenance in Mexico that we will be reactivating shortly. And we have a joint venture in southern Argentina, an underground gold and silver mine operated by our partner, Hochschild Mining. We own 49%, they're 51%. The others we all own 100% of. In addition, we have a large copper project, a very large copper project that we've been financing independently of McEwen Mining. McEwen Mining owns 48% of that project.
Well, now the mining industry itself it's really, I know it's known somewhat for having a significant environmental impact. And I'd like to know what steps McEwen Mining is taking to mitigate some of these effects.
I think you're being very gentle on the mining industry. It has a horrible reputation with most people in the world.
Yes.
They view it as a destroyer of the environment. We have this large copper deposit. It's considered the 8th largest undeveloped copper deposit in the world. It is located in the Andes Mountains in northern Argentina on the border with Chile. We were looking at how best to develop it, and 2 years ago, I asked an architect who is considered the Steve Jobs of the green living building movement, to sit down with our project engineers, our consultants, our senior management, and my instruction to him was, help us redefine mining. Just because of the negative opinion most people have of mining, and saying, well, how do we build a mine that will help to alter the impression of the public on mining, and at the same time be like a jewel on the hillside rather than a scar, would gain social license and look to reduce its water usage, its power usage, its carbon emissions, and be a regenerative copper mine.
Outstanding. Well, let's talk about the global shift towards renewable energy sources and how that's impacted the mining industry, particularly in terms of demand for certain minerals that we see being used in these renewable energy sources.
Well, you have this belief that there are critical minerals that support the high-tech industry, and then there are other minerals. And I suggest to your listeners that all minerals are critical, and very few people understand the relevance of the connection of the mining industry, and for that matter, the oil and gas industry, to our modern civilization and way of life. It's a big challenge to try to shift that, but if we were to stop mining today, most of our cities would start decaying, and certainly we wouldn't have any more towers built. We wouldn't have any cars. We wouldn't be traveling in airplanes. We wouldn't be using metal utensils to eat our food with. I did a speech recently. I gave it in New York to a mining association last week. The title was "Become a Nudist, Stop Mining." And it's really just so few people understand the very close connection to our modern life and mining. And so one is an education trying to help people understand that connection and the relevance of the mining industry to their life. The other is looking at how we project a more positive image to the world. And I'd have to say that a lot of people have very old images of mining, and they can look at the scars incurred on the earth by past practices. But today, mining is much more careful with the environment, spending a lot more time and money to protect during the operations, and then in reclamation. There's a thinking of reclamation, there's a community up in northern Canada. It's a very large nickel producing district. It's been operating for more than 100 years. So it's by the city of Sudbury, which is built up around the mining up there. And at one point, Sudbury was considered a measure of environmental damage. And today, it's been remediated and it's beautifully forested, and it's totally changed that perception. But at one point, NASA went up there to train the lunar module, lunar rovers, because it had been just denuded of all vegetation and soils, and it's all come back. So what we're doing, the mine we're proposing would be powered by electricity that's generated from 100% renewable resources, wind, solar, and hydro. We chose to use a different processing plant that used less than a quarter of the water of a comparable sized mine and conventional mine. And it's so water management, less capital, less power, less carbon, and creating an environment that is both attractive, at least the accommodation, and comfortable. The mining industry is going, in the Western world, is going through, like a lot of other industries, a shortage of labor. The opposition to mining has been very effective influencing the youth. And so very few people are going through schools of mining engineering or geology. And at the same time, the existing workforce is rapidly retiring. So you have a period where the demand for metal is going up, which is required for many aspects, but a lot of it is the electrification going on, the transition in the energy markets. So you see these projected demands for EVs and wind turbines and solar cells. That demand is rising steeply, but the industry is not able to, on its current growth plans, to make up, to reach and supply that demand. And even when you include recycling, it's still falling well behind. So we're going to need to see more mines built. But in order to get mines built, we're going to need more public acceptance that they need to be built. And the industry has to show the public that it is more responsible when it comes to the environment. And that's exactly what we're doing with our copper project.
Well said. Well, McEwen Mining has made significant investments in exploration. And what do you see as some of the most promising findings that you've had from these investments with your recent explorations?
Well, let me give you an example of an experience I had in a previous company that I built called Goldcorp. I'll just note we went from a market cap of 50 million to 8 billion. It was driven largely by exploration. I bought into a mine that had a high cost, short life, and a very troubled labor relations issue. And a mile below surface, we were exploring and we hit a very rich gold showing. And it kept growing as we spent more money on exploration. And that mine eventually, we tore down the old process plant, put up a state-of-the-art processing facility, and we went from producing 50,000 ounces a year at a cost of $360 an ounce to producing 500,000 ounces a year at a cost of $60 an ounce. So I've always been a big believer in exploration. I invest personally in a lot of junior exploration stories. I happen to think we're at the right phase of the market to be doing that. There's a lot of upside. So exploration, we spent better than 15 million on exploration in our Fox complex up in Timmins, about 5 million in Nevada. We've spent, we and our partners are spending about 10 in Argentina at the underground gold silver mine, San Jose mine. At our Los Azules project, we had a very large drilling program. A small part of it was focused on exploration because we were doing what's called infill drilling. We're just getting a denser spacing of drill holes to better estimate the resource that's in the ground. But out of this, even that limited program we had at Los Azules, which is the copper project, we've been able to extend the boundaries of mineralization, and we think we might have encountered a brand new system a couple of miles away from the current deposit. And I should say the current deposit it's massive. It's the 8th largest undeveloped copper deposit in the world. It's indicated and inferred resources are currently standing at 37.6 billion pounds of copper. And we think we may have maybe just on the tip of an iceberg right now. So you want to keep exploring. You want to be in areas where there is known mineralization. Up in where we're spending a lot in Canada, it is in a known gold district that's been produced. There are many mines up there, and they've been producing gold there for over 100 years. In Nevada, where we're 30 miles south on trend with one of the largest gold mines there. It's a joint venture between Newmont and Barrick Gold. So it's quite a prolific area. And if Nevada were to be a country unto its own, it would be the 3rd largest gold producer in the world. So a lot of gold is being produced in Nevada. In southern Argentina, where our San Jose mine is, it's a newer district, but there since the early 90s, there's been at least 6 new mines opened up down there. And then on our copper project, along the spine of South America on the Andes, in the Andes Mountains, if you were just to look at Peru and Chile and the amount of copper they produce a year, it's equal to 40% of the world's annual production of copper comes from those 2 countries. Argentina hasn't developed its mining industry as much. It currently doesn't produce any copper, but it's in a region that is rich in copper. And our discovery of the Los Azules project is one of about 5 large copper deposits that have been identified in the same province where we are in Argentina. So Argentina could become a very large player in the copper market soon.
Well, great. Thank you for that update as well. And let's talk about challenges then. Can you discuss any challenges that you faced in maintaining profitability in the fluctuating commodity market?
Well, that's a very good point, Stuart. This is the mining industry isn't a good example of a buy and hold type investment. It's a cyclical business, and metal prices go up and down with the business cycles. So right now, I think we're at a point where it's an attractive entry point. The mining industry has not been a favored destination for investment dollars. There's been a lot more attractive areas in tech, biotech, and other retailing So it's been ignored. It represents a very small portion of one's portfolio, but there are times when it does perform, it becomes a much larger segment of the market. I like buying distress, and so this is an attractive time for me. But in terms of challenges, you know, there have been a couple of occasions where the sector's lost, well, going from, I guess, the beginning of 2012 to 2015, metal prices fell out of the sky, and so did the stocks that mined them. And you could see the senior producers down 60 to 70% at the bottom of the trough, and the junior explorers down 90% or off the board. So it's a place where you want to be watching where you are in the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can be, but these cycles are stretched out over, 8-10 year periods. So as I said, the sector's been ignored quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and the metal prices have been improving. Some of the seniors have attractive yields. Our own share price since September, the beginning of September 2020, is up over 280%, performing 12 times better than the Dow, 7 times better than NASDAQ, 4, 5, 6, and 7 times better than silver, gold, and copper. So there are some attractive returns. We got beaten up badly between 2019 and 2022. I made a mistake in hiring a person and we gave the market guidance and we didn't meet guidance. So there have been changes since then, and our precious metal component of our business has stabilized. And in our copper, we've been able to bring in as shareholders, the second largest mining company in the world, Rio Tinto. They own 14.5% of the company, of the copper company. Stellantis, the fourth largest car manufacturer in the world, they're Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Peugeot, Citroën, Maserati. There are 14 brands that they have. They own 19%, 19.4%. McEwen Mining owns 48%. I led the financings back in 2022 personally, but we've raised just under $400 million in the last 19 months privately to advance our copper project.
When you look at so many different sectors outside of mining, we've seen how much innovation and technology have been able to lower burn rates. What do you think the role of innovation and technology will play in the future of mining? And is McEwen Mining positioning itself within that context?
Oh, I think contribution will be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it in exploration using AI to speed up the discovery process, to looking at, you'll see robots coming in just to deal with the shrinking workforce and the growing demand for metals. We can't increase the enrollment in the schools quickly enough or stop the retirement. So we're going to have to resort, much like the farming communities.
Sure.
A lot of manual labor people went to the cities and didn't come back, and so you just had more and more mechanization taking place. So that'll be definitely ongoing. And I think I'll give an example. When I was running Goldcorp back in 1999, launched a contest over the internet called the Goldcorp Challenge.
Mhm.
And we released all of our geological data over the web on one particular property we had, where we had a very big discovery. And we found a lot of gold a mile below surface. And I wanted to know how much larger it could become. And when I asked our geologists that question, they went, well, I don't know. We'll just have to keep drilling. And I said, well, all right, well, when are you going to find, when will I know how much? And they said, well, we don't know how much, and we don't know when we're going to find out how much. And I really didn't like either of those answers. So we released it out over the web, gave away what is considered proprietary information in the industry, all our geological data, asked the world where we'd find the next 6 million ounces of gold in our mine, and offered $500,000 in prize money. So it was one of the very early examples of incentivized crowdsourcing on the web. There were 1,500 people from 50 countries that took down a 400 megabyte file of data, and we ended up finding $3 billion worth of gold. And as a result of that. So the biggest gold mine in the world is between everybody's ears.
Mhm.
And it's just connecting people's thinking, thoughts, where and you're going to see more of that in mining. It's been a closed shop for a while, but you're going to see a lot more of that taking place. You're going to see some innovations coming out of NASA being up in space looking at mining asteroids and to build space stations up there, and some of the technology that they've used to identify mineralized asteroids, and that hyperspectral vision, assay systems. You're looking again at more efficient production, and all of that is going to come into the mining industry. The mining industry has a lot of inertia, but it's slowly adopting it. You'll see a lot of automation. The copper mine we're looking at would have automated trucks and autonomous vehicles moving around, drills, etc., and a lot of process controls. So it'll be an industry that offers a wide array of careers that most people don't normally associate with mining.
Well, we've taken a lot of your time here today, Rob, and we so appreciate your insights, not into just McEwen Mining, obviously into your history and the industry as a whole. You know, what has been one of your most significant learning experiences as the CEO of McEwen Mining? I'm sure you've had a lot, so that might be a tough question to pin down, but you know, as you see it on your history, and you talked about that rough go of it around 2019 to 2022, maybe that bore out some significant learning experiences for you, but how do you see it, Rob?
There's a lot of vested interest in the mining industry. There's invested in the way they've always done their work. And I came out of the investment industry, and when I got into the mining industry directly rather than as an investor, I looked at it and I said, you know what? It's like I just stepped into a vat of quick drying cement. I can't change course very quickly. Whereas as an investor, if you make an investment and it doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go, you just sell it and it's gone. But in the mining industry, it doesn't work that way. It's a lot more rigid. When I was building Goldcorp, we had a labor strike at our mine. I wanted to have greater flexibility and more job opportunities opening up. So our workforce, the United Steelworkers of America, went out on strike. And that strike, we didn't have any production coming out of the mine for 46 months. And it was hard to deal with trying to get people to see the future that I envisioned for the mine. a great deal of resistance. We ended up, the steel workers left the mine. They'd been there for 40 years and they chose to leave after we settled. I gave them all the members options, and they were nicely in the money a year down the road after the strike was over. But it's just trying to change opinions. And I got a death threat out of that, so that was a little different. I wasn't expecting that. So it's really when people are deeply entrenched in an ideology or a particular view of the world, one has to be extremely creative trying to put alternatives in front of those individuals to get them to understand what you're saying. And sometimes it's very harsh to make that change, but it ended up, we kicked off, the strike ended at the time our internet challenge had concluded. It's kicked off a gold rush in the area. There was lots of jobs created, and I guess it had a happy ending. But during the period of the strike, it was a very difficult period for all parties involved.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm going to leave you with this then. What legacy do you hope to leave in the mining industry through your work at McEwen Mining?
I'd say I hope that I encourage people to challenge assumptions that have been around for a long time, and to understand that one can look beyond their industry to find solutions or inspiration for solutions to problems they have in their own industry. I also think the mining industry has been very kind to me. Mother Nature's been very kind, and it's allowed myself and my wife to address areas where we feel we could contribute to society. And we established a medical research center for regenerative medicine and stem cell research. It's in the largest research hospital in Canada. We've funded leadership programs for boys and girls in high school that some of them have actually appeared on the equivalent of the Shark's Tank in Canada. There's art as well, and health and education and leadership programs are high on our list supporting. And the mining industry offers a lot of opportunity to share the wealth with society.
Excellent. Well, it's wonderful to hear that. Well, listeners, once again, we're speaking with CEO of McEwen Mining, and that is Rob McEwen. Rob, you've been very generous with your time today. We had a lot of questions to get through. I appreciate all of your insights. We look forward to speaking with you again here on the MiningNewsWire podcast, and we wish great luck to you, your entire team, and of course, your company there at McEwen Mining Incorporated here in 2024 and well beyond. Thanks, Rob.
Okay, Stuart. Thank you.
All right. For Rob McEwen, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for tuning in.
The MiningNewsWire podcast is an original content production powered by IBN, a multifaceted financial news and publishing company that delivers next-generation corporate communication solutions. Utilizing proprietary corporate communication tools such as news aggregation and syndication, social communication, and brand awareness techniques, among others, IBN introduces both public and private companies to diverse audiences to enhance reach and recognition. IBN may receive compensation for services and solutions provided to its client partners. You should assume that the owners, officers, and directors of IBN or financial analysts mentioned in this production may hold a position in and may intend to trade the securities in their own accounts. This production is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell any securities that may be mentioned in this production. The information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be or should it be construed as investment advice. As in all investments, investment in the featured companies carries inherent investment risk. Listeners should review the companies thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This production by IBN is not purported to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used in statements of fact have been obtained from featured companies and other sources but not verified nor guaranteed by IBN as to completeness and accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice. Please see IBN's full disclaimers and disclosures at www.ibn.fm/disclaimer. Music in this episode is by Infraction. For more, visit inaudio.org.